There comes a time, my friends, when silence no longer feels like strength. You know what I mean, that quiet power you once held after they rejected you, ignored you, or made you feel small. You thought, fine, I'll go silent. I'll let my absence speak. And for a while, it did. Your silence echoed louder than any words could. It made them wonder, did I lose something rare? It made them check your stories, read your messages again, and feel that strange ache that only shows up when someone realizes they messed up. But then something shifted. The silence that was once your weapon started turning into a wall. Not because you became weak, but because they stopped listening for your echo. Silence is a double-edged sword, folks. It can protect your peace, but it can also trap your truth. You went quiet to reclaim your power, not to disappear. Yet somewhere along the way, they convinced themselves that your silence meant surrender. And that's where things get twisted, because when people can't hear your voice anymore, they start creating their own version of your story. They tell themselves lies like, they're over me, or they didn't care that much. And you, my friend, are on the other side of that silence thinking, they must be missing me by now. But the universe doesn't work on hope alone. It works on energy, on self-respect, on the story you tell without saying a word. Let me tell you a truth that stings a little. Your silence only works when it comes from confidence, not from confusion. When it comes from peace, not from pain. There's a moment when being too silent starts to make them believe you've accepted defeat. They mistake your distance for disinterest. And that's when your silence starts working against you, not because you lost your worth, but because they can no longer feel it through the noise of their ego. Silence that comes from fear fades. But silence that comes from power, that one lasts forever. Picture this, a candle burning quietly in the dark room. At first, it's impossible to ignore, but if you leave it long enough, the eyes adjust to the darkness. People stop noticing the light. That's what happens when you stay silent for too long, in hopes they'll feel your absence. At first, your quiet glow unsettles them, but over time, their ego adapts. They stop feeling guilty and start feeling comfortable. That's when they start thinking, maybe they needed me more than I thought. The silence you use to command respect becomes the silence that feeds their arrogance. But remember, every story flips, every ego meets reality. Because one day they'll look around and realize your silence wasn't a pause. It was transformation. They'll see your growth, your peace, your unbothered confidence, and it'll hit them like thunder in an empty valley. They'll remember how your silence used to mean longing, but now it means freedom. That's when the power returns to your hands. That's when your quiet becomes the loudest sound in their mind. They will replay your last words, scroll your photos, wonder who's laughing with you now. And deep down, they'll know they lost someone who mastered the art of walking away without burning bridges, yet left an unforgettable mark. So don't let your silence be a prison, my friends. Let it be a mirror. Let it reflect your strength, your calm, your control. Speak without words. Move with grace. Remember, silence is not retreat. It's self-respect. It's how peace looks when it stops asking to be understood. So if you're listening right now, I want you to write this in the comments. My silence has power. Say it out loud. Feel it in your chest. Because it's true. It's always been true. And if this message hit home, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this is just the beginning. Number 1. The moment they start to forget the sound of your absence. You remember how it started, my friends. The first few days of silence felt powerful, almost electric. You could feel them wondering. You could sense their curiosity rising like smoke after a fire. They might have checked your page, hovered over your name, replayed old voice notes. The silence made them uneasy because it broke a pattern they depended on. Your attention, your energy had become their comfort, and when it vanished, the quiet left an ache. At first, that absence made them think. They wondered if they pushed too far, if maybe they took you for granted. That's the beauty of silence in the beginning. It creates mystery, tension, and a mirror that forces people to see their reflection without your presence polishing it for them. But silence has its own timeline, and the human mind is impatient. You see, people forget sounds that don't echo anymore. That's the danger of silence. It demands balance. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your silence, if left too long, starts to drift into their unconscious. At first, they miss the way you used to text in the mornings, that simple good luck before their big day, or the random memes that showed you still cared. They miss the tone of your voice that made them feel wanted, even when they didn't deserve it. But slowly, my friends, those memories start to fade. Their mind replaces your warmth with their own defense mechanisms. They convince themselves that maybe you've moved on. Maybe you didn't care as much as they thought, and that's when silence turns from magnetic to misunderstood. It's like a song they used to love. In the beginning, they played it every night. The rhythm reminded them of you. Every lyric felt personal. But then weeks pass, months maybe. One day, the song plays by accident, and it doesn't hit the same. Not because the song changed, but because they did. The human mind adapts. It heals through denial. And so they start teaching themselves not to feel your absence. That's when your silence begins to work against you. It's not that they forgot you, it's that they trained themselves not to remember. You might be sitting there thinking, but how could they forget something real? How could they stop missing me when I was the only one who showed them love? I hear you, my friend. That's the hardest part to accept. That people can numb themselves to the very warmth that once kept them alive. They do it because facing loss is harder than pretending it never mattered. So they avoid it. They bury it under new distractions, new faces, new routines. They'll talk to new people, not because they've moved on, but because they're trying to silence the silence you left behind. Every time they scroll, every time they laugh a little too loud, it's just an attempt to mute the memory of you. But here's the truth. You don't really erase something that deep. You just bury it under noise. And oh, the irony, folks. The more they try to drown you out, the more you echo. That's the hidden power of energy. Even when your silence starts working against you on the surface, beneath it, your energy keeps whispering in places they can't shut out. They'll forget your voice, but not your calm. They'll forget your words, but not how you made them feel seen. That's the paradox of emotional connection. You can delete messages, but you can't delete frequency. Still, you must understand the balance. Stoicism teaches us that attachment to outcomes is the root of suffering. If you stay silent expecting them to chase you, the silence loses its purity. It becomes performance, not peace. True silence, my friends, comes from acceptance, from knowing that you did your part, that you showed up with honesty, and now the universe will take care of the rest. Your silence must be filled with growth, not waiting. Because silence with growth is power, but silence with hope is prison. And I know it's not easy. You'll have moments where you want to reach out just to remind them you exist. You'll justify it. Maybe just one message won't hurt. But let me tell you, that's your old self speaking. the part of you still seeking closure from someone who never had the courage to give it. Jung once said that people don't meet by accident. They meet because their souls are seeking something. Maybe yours sought to heal theirs, but not to stay. And when that lesson is done, silence becomes the teacher. It's not there to make them miss you. It's there to help you meet yourself again. One day, they'll scroll through their phone and pause on your name. They won't text, they'll just stare, because deep down, they'll know your silence wasn't punishment, it was evolution. They'll remember how you used to reach out first, how you always understood their moods, and how now, without you, the world feels a little colder. That's when the silence turns back in your favor. When the mind gets quiet, the heart starts talking again. And in those late-night moments, when there's no one left to distract them, they'll finally feel it. Not your absence, but their loss. So don't rush to fill the silence. Let it teach you patience. Let it sharpen your peace. Let it remind you that you are not someone who needs to be chased to be worthy. You are someone whose energy lingers even in absence. And when the time is right, the silence will speak again, not to bring them back, but to bring you forward. You are the storm they thought was passing, only to realize it was rebuilding itself into calm strengths. Remember this, my friends. Silence isn't about proving you don't care. It's about showing that you finally do, for yourself. So if you're listening right now, I want you to write this in the comments. My silence heals me. Say it again. My silence heals me. Because it does. It's the moment you stop chasing what walked away and start becoming what never leaves. Peace. Number 2, when your silence becomes their validation. At first, your silence confused them, my friends. It made them wonder what went wrong, why you stopped explaining yourself, why your messages stopped coming through at midnight like they used to. They scrolled back through the conversations, looking for clues. Maybe you got tired, maybe you lost interest, maybe you found someone else. Their mind spun in circles, trying to understand your quiet. For a brief moment, your silence held power, because it made them think. But the human ego doesn't like uncertainty. It has to rewrite the story to feel in control again. And that's where the shift happens. The same silence that once unsettled them slowly starts feeding their ego. They stop seeing it as strength and start seeing it as surrender. You see, folks, when silence lasts too long, it gives their pride room to breathe. At first, they were anxious, checking their phone, replaying moments, maybe even telling their friends, "I think they're mad at me." But as days turn into weeks, the mind begins to protect itself. It whispers, if they really cared, they would have come back by now. That one sentence is the ego's favorite drug. It numbs guilt, replaces reflection with arrogance, and turns self-awareness into self-justification. Now, instead of missing you, they start using your silence as proof that they were right all along. They'll say, "See? I knew they couldn't handle me," or "They always overreact." What was once confusion has now become validation. It's like a stage play, my friends. In the beginning, your silence puts them under the spotlight. Every flaw, every choice, every hurtful thing they said suddenly looks magnified. But when you stay off stage for too long, they take control of the narrative. They turn you into the villain of their story to protect their ego. They tell themselves you disappeared because you lost, not because you evolved. This is how the mind defends itself from guilt. It turns your silence into their evidence. You might think, how can they twist it like that? How can they make peace with something they caused? Because people fear accountability more than loneliness. They would rather believe you gave up than admit they pushed away someone who truly cared. The ego always chooses comfort over truth. And so, when your silence becomes too long, it feeds that comfort. They stop feeling the loss and start enjoying the illusion of victory. But don't be fooled. That illusion doesn't last. Because deep down, they know the truth doesn't vanish. It just waits for the right moment to surface. Think of it like this. Your silence is a mirror, but mirrors can only reflect what's in front of them. If someone is too busy running from themselves, all they see is what they want to believe. They'll tell their friends you've moved on because you couldn't handle rejection. They'll convince themselves that you finally accepted defeat. But late at night, when the noise fades and their friends aren't around to feed the lie, that mirror becomes honest again. And that's when your silence stops being their validation and starts becoming their regret. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." That's exactly what happens here. Your silence becomes their validation only because they can't face what your silence actually represents: their loss. You don't have to correct them, explain yourself, or prove your intentions. The universe handles that, because the longer they lie to themselves, the louder reality grows behind them. One day, that wall of denial cracks, and when it does, they'll finally see what your silence was saying all along. Not, "I gave up," but "I grew up." So don't break your silence to prove them wrong. Let time do that for you. Let their ego celebrate its little victory, because the truth has patience, and the truth always outlasts illusion. Eventually, they'll look back and realize the validation they built from your quiet was the very thing that kept them from healing. And that realization, it cuts deeper than any message you could have sent. Stay calm, my friends. Stay centered. Remember, your silence doesn't mean defeat. It means discipline. It means you refuse to fight for a place that didn't honor you. It means you let the noise end where peace begins. And if you're listening right now, write this in the comments. My silence speaks truth. Say it proudly, because that's what Stoic power is: calm, patient, and unshakable. Number 3. The ego's last illusion. They still want me. There's a strange thing that happens, my friends, when you go quiet. The person who once rejected you begins to build an illusion in their mind, a sweet lie that keeps their ego alive. They start to believe you're still waiting for them, that your silence isn't strength, but longing. They'll say things like, they're just pretending to move on, or they'll come back when they calm down. And at first, that belief comforts them. It allows them to keep their pride intact. Because if you're still waiting, then they didn't lose anything. They just put you on hold. That's the ego's last illusion. They still want me. It's the lie people tell themselves when they don't want to face the fact that they've been replaced by peace. Your silence becomes their proof, my friends. They think your absence is strategy, not self-respect. In their mind, you're still there, checking their page, missing their touch, wondering if they're thinking about you. It gives them control again. That's how the ego survives. By turning your growth into their validation. They'll even tell others, "Oh, they'll text me eventually," as if your strength is just another phase. But silence, real silence, doesn't wait. It heals, it rebuilds, it matures. And when your silence comes from peace, it no longer plays into their fantasy, it starts destroying it. Because at first, their ego keeps them safe with stories. They imagine you're checking your phone like they used to, typing and deleting messages, fighting the urge to reach out. They tell themselves you're still emotionally attached. But one day, that story collapses under reality. Maybe they see you smiling in a photo. Maybe you stop watching their stories. Maybe they hear from a mutual friend that you've changed, calmer, happier, detached. And that's when the illusion shatters like glass. You see, folks, the ego can only lie to itself when it feels unseen. But the moment reality shines a light, the illusion can't survive. It's like a dream that fades the second you open your eyes. That's when they realize your silence was never about waiting. It was about letting go. That's when their pride starts to crumble and confusion takes its place. They start wondering, did I misread this? Were they really done this whole time? That's the beauty of true Stoicism. Calmness always reveals the truth without saying a word. Carl Jung once said that people don't see things as they are, they see them as they are. When their ego was high, they saw your silence as proof of desire. But when reality finally sets in, they see your silence for what it is. Freedom. The illusion that once made them feel in control turns into their nightmare. Because now every quiet day feels heavier. Every moment of your peace becomes a reminder that they no longer exist in your world. They can't admit it out loud, but inside they know. They underestimated you. They confused silence with weakness, and now face the truth that your silence meant closure, not captivity. Imagine standing in an empty room, calling someone's name over and over, expecting an answer. At first, you're confident they'll respond, but as the echoes fade, something inside you shifts. The silence you once felt in control of starts to feel like rejection. That's what happens when their illusion breaks. The silence that once made them feel powerful now reminds them that they're alone with their ego. So, my friends, don't interrupt their illusion. Let it run its course. Let them believe what they need to believe until the truth becomes too loud to ignore. Because one day, when they finally face it, they'll realize your silence wasn't waiting. It was wisdom. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't explain. You simply walked away and let peace speak for you. And when they see that, the regret will hit harder than any words could. That's when you win, not because they finally understand, but because you no longer need them to. That's true Stoic strength. Calm, grounded, certain. You didn't lose them, my friends. You found yourself. So, if you're listening right now, write this in the comments. My silence is my freedom. Feel it. Own it. Because that's your truth. Number 4. The breaking point, when they finally check your page. There comes a moment, my friends, when curiosity turns into panic. It's the quiet breaking point, when the person who thought they had you figured out finally realizes they don't anymore. For a long time, they told themselves that your silence meant waiting. They thought you were just holding out to make a point, but one day they check your page and everything feels different. The tone of your posts, your eyes in the pictures, the calm in your energy. It all speaks a language they don't recognize anymore. That's when the illusion collapses and their mind starts spinning out of control. It always starts small. Maybe they're lying in bed one night, bored, and their mind drifts back to you. They wonder, what are they doing now? Maybe they tell themselves it's just curiosity, but curiosity is never harmless when the heart's involved. So they open your profile, maybe just to see what's new, pretending they don't care. And then, there it is. You look peaceful. Not the fake kind of peace where someone's forcing a smile, but the kind that glows quietly, like you've outgrown the storm. That's when the first wave of unease hits them, because deep down, they know that's not the face of someone waiting. That's the face of someone healing. You see, folks, silence is powerful, but transformation is terrifying to those who expected you to stay the same. They thought you'd still be in emotional limbo, scrolling through their page, wondering what went wrong. But when they see you, detached, centered, maybe even glowing, it messes with their entire perception of control. Now the silence doesn't feel flattering anymore. It feels dangerous. They start asking themselves questions they don't want the answers to. Were they always this strong? Did I really mean that little to them? Have they finally moved on? That's how it begins. Curiosity becomes anxiety. The ego hates uncertainty, and now they're drowning in it. Every photo, every quote you post, every subtle change in your presence becomes a clue to decode. If you look happy, it burns. If you post something deep or stoic, they'll wonder if it's about them. They'll even start comparing themselves to whoever appears in your world now. Friends, strangers, anyone who might be close to you. They can't stop thinking about you, not because they love you suddenly, but because their ego has been wounded. They thought they had power, and now they realize they've lost it. And then, my friends, that anxiety turns into obsession. They'll check your page again the next day, then again after that. It becomes a quiet habit they don't admit to anyone. They'll scroll late at night, replaying your laughter, zooming into your photos like detectives looking for emotional evidence. They'll even start remembering old things you said, things they once ignored, now searching for meaning. They'll look at your silence and realize it's not distance anymore. It's evolution. You didn't go quiet to win them back. You went quiet to find yourself. And that truth hurts them more than rejection ever could. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." The more they try to ignore the urge to check on you, the stronger it becomes. Their resistance turns into obsession because they can't understand how you detached without closure. It eats at them. Every peaceful moment you display reminds them of what they destroyed and what they can't rebuild. That's when regret begins to whisper, slow but sharp. It's funny, isn't it? You didn't post to make them jealous. You didn't change to prove a point. You simply grew, and that alone shattered the illusion. Because while they stayed stuck in pride, you turned silence into self-respect. That's what breaks them. They realize they're watching someone they thought they lost temporarily become someone they'll never access again. And that's when the truth finally hits. Your silence wasn't punishment, it was rebirth. So let them check your page, let them scroll through your piece and mistake it for mystery, because eventually that curiosity will become a mirror, and what they'll see isn't your pain, it's their own emptiness. Stay calm, my friends. Stay grounded. Let silence do what words never could. If you're listening right now, write this in the comments. My silence transformed me. Say it with pride, because it did. You didn't lose them. You found yourself, and now they're the ones chasing an echo. Number 5. The ripple effect. When they hear you've changed. It always happens the same way, my friends. Long after the silence has settled and they've convinced themselves that you've faded away, something unexpected reaches their ears. Your name. Maybe it's a mutual friend mentioning you in passing. Maybe they overhear someone say you've been doing well lately. Or maybe it's a picture that pops up in their feed, that effortless smile, that relaxed posture, that calm energy that says you've outgrown the storm. That's when the ripple begins. A single mention, a single photo, a single update, and suddenly your silence isn't so silent anymore. You see, the universe has a way of exposing what people try to forget. Your name starts to surface in the most random places. A friend talking about your new project, someone sharing your post because it inspired them, or even a stranger complimenting how peaceful you look these days. It's never loud, never forced, just a gentle hum of progress. But to them, it feels like thunder, because the person they left behind, the one they thought was broken and quiet, is now being spoken about with admiration. That's when the realization hits. Your silence didn't bury you, it built you. In the beginning, they brushed it off. Good for them, they'll say, but deep down, the mind starts asking questions it doesn't want to answer. How are they doing so well? Were they always this strong? Did they really move on? That's when the ripple turns into a wave. Because human psychology, my friends, is wired for comparison. When they hear your name, their brain immediately recalls the version of you they remember, the one who cared deeply, who tried, who gave. And now that image collides with the new one, confident, composed, unbothered. That's when their stomach drops. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely," and that's what you did. You accepted that your silence was your healing space. You didn't use it to manipulate or prove anything. You used it to evolve. And when evolution starts showing externally, it unsettles those who stayed stagnant. That's the beauty of growth. It exposes stillness in others. Your quiet glow becomes a mirror, reflecting what they refused to fix in themselves. Imagine this: they're out with friends, laughing, pretending life is fine. Then someone casually mentions you. "Did you see them lately? They look incredible." And just like that, the laughter fades, their smile stiffens. Because the silence they once interpreted as weakness now sounds like strength in everyone else's voice. You didn't have to say a word. Your progress spoke for you. That's how silence becomes louder. Through energy, through change, through the peace that others can't fake. And it doesn't stop there. The more they hear about you, the more restless they become. They start checking your profile again, this time not for validation, but for answers. They'll zoom in on your smile, trying to decide if it's real. They'll read your captions, searching for hidden messages. But what really eats at them is the realization that you're no longer performing pain. You're not proving anything, you're just living. And that calm terrifies them, because it means you've let them go completely. It's ironic, isn't it? The person who once made you doubt your worth now has to hear about it everywhere they go. They thought you'd fade quietly into the background, but instead your energy expanded. You didn't chase revenge, you chased peace. And that, my friends, is what truly haunts the ones who left. Because peace is power that doesn't need to announce itself. So let the ripple do its work. Let your silence travel through the voices of others, through your confidence, through your transformation. You don't need to defend your story. The universe is already telling it for you, one whisper at a time. And when they finally realize what that silence created, they'll understand what they lost. Not a person who begged, but a person who bloomed. So if you're listening right now, write this in the comments. My silence speaks through my glow. Say it proudly, because it does. You've become the ripple, the reminder, the revelation. Number 6. When regret creeps in at night. Nighttime, my friends, has a way of telling the truth. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the pretending. When the lights go out and the world quiets down, the mind starts to wander, and that's when the ghosts of memory return. During the day, they can avoid it. They can scroll, laugh, talk to new people, and convince themselves they've moved on. But when it's just them and the silence they once thought they wanted, that's when regret begins its slow crawl through their thoughts. That's when your absence stops feeling like freedom and starts feeling like loss. You see, at night, the ego goes to sleep, but the heart doesn't. The same person who used to shrug at your silence now lies awake, wondering why their chest feels heavy. They remember the sound of your laugh, the rhythm of your voice, the words you used to say before you hung up. Maybe they even scroll back through old messages just to feel something familiar again. Every text they read feels like a conversation frozen in time. And that's what regret does. It turns memories into mirrors. Suddenly, they're not looking at the past. They're staring at the version of themselves that let something real slip away. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." At night, the unconscious takes over. It pulls them back to the very things they tried to suppress. Your kindness, your patience, your love. They remember the nights you stayed up to comfort them, the times you forgave things you shouldn't have, the moments you listened when nobody else cared. Every detail becomes sharper in the dark. Even your silence, which once made them feel powerful, now feels haunting. Because now they understand it wasn't weakness, it was closure. Think about it, folks. The scent of something familiar, the sound of a song you once sent, the time on the clock that matches the hour you used to talk. All these little things become reminders. Regret doesn't announce itself loudly, it whispers. It sneaks in through the smallest memories, and when it does, it doesn't leave quickly. They'll roll over, try to sleep it off, but the mind doesn't forget what the heart still feels. That's when missing you turns into torment. Not because they can't reach you, but because they realize you've stopped reaching back. There's a moment when they'll pick up their phone, thumb hovering over your name. They'll want to text you just to feel the old rhythm again. But pride stops them, so they sit there, stuck between desire and denial. That's the punishment of regret. It traps you in silence you can't escape. They once thought they had control, but now they can't even control their own thoughts. The same silence they used to enjoy has become unbearable. Because it's not your silence anymore, it's theirs. And here's the thing, my friends, you won't even know when it happens. You'll be asleep, resting peacefully, living your new chapter, while somewhere out there, someone is wide awake, remembering every little thing they took for granted. That's the balance the universe keeps. You suffered first. You were the one who stayed up, wondering, aching, missing. Now it's their turn to feel the same fire, only colder. So let the night do its work. Let regret do what lessons couldn't. You don't need revenge. Life has its own timing. The mind can only lie for so long before truth slips through the cracks. And when it does, they'll finally see that your silence wasn't emptiness. It was evolution. Stay calm, my friends. Stay centered. You've already won by letting go. The universe doesn't forget what's pure, and neither will they. So if you're listening right now, write this in the comments. I rest while they remember. Say it softly, like a promise to yourself. Because that's the beauty of peace. It doesn't chase, it doesn't plead, it just watches as regret finds its way home. Number 7, the return, why they reach out when you've moved on. It always happens when you least expect it, my friends. After months of silence, when you've stopped checking your phone, when your heart has finally exhaled, that's when they return. Out of nowhere, a text, a follow, a little, "Hey, how have you been?" As if time didn't move. You'll look at it and feel that strange mix of curiosity and calm. Because deep down, you'll know. They didn't come back when you were hurting, they came back when you healed. That's not coincidence, that's psychology. You see, people don't crave your presence when you're still chasing them. They crave your energy when they realize it's no longer available to them. When your silence turns into real peace, not waiting, not pretending, but peace. It shifts something in the air. Your energy stops reaching out. You stop needing to be seen. You stop vibrating in their direction. That absence of attachment creates space. And the human mind is drawn to what it can no longer control. That's why they come back. It's not magic, it's energy recognition. The same frequency that once felt predictable now feels unreachable. And that drives the ego mad. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists." The more they tried to forget you, the more your peace haunted them. At first, they thought your silence was temporary, a silent protest waiting to end. But when they realized you weren't playing a game, that you had truly moved on, their perception flipped. The power they once held now feels lost. They begin to crave the same attention they used to dismiss. That's when curiosity becomes hunger. They don't just want to know how you are, they want to know how you became okay without them. Picture this, folks. They open your page expecting sadness, but instead they see peace. They expected longing, but they find confidence. That calm smile of yours doesn't scream revenge. It whispers acceptance. And nothing hits the ego harder than realizing you no longer need to be understood. Because the truth is, detachment restores attraction. Not the fake kind where you try to look unbothered, but the real kind that radiates when you've accepted everything and released the need for control. The human brain is wired to chase what feels uncertain. When you loved them openly, they felt safe, too safe. They stopped valuing the access they had, but when you became quiet and content, they lost that certainty. Suddenly your silence wasn't a wall, it was a mystery. They start wondering who's texting you now, who makes you laugh, who gets the version of you that no longer needs them. That's what brings them back. Not your words, not your looks, but your energy. And when they return, they'll say things like, "I've been thinking about you lately," or "I miss our talks." But notice how they never came when you were broken. They waited until your silence turned into serenity. Because people are drawn to light, not need. Your detachment became magnetic. That's the paradox. The moment you stop needing them, they start needing you. The same peace that scared them away is now what attracts them back. But here's where Stoicism must guide you. Just because they return doesn't mean you need to reopen the door. You see, their return isn't always about love. Sometimes it's about curiosity, guilt, or ego repair. Your peace disrupted their illusion, and they're trying to touch it again, not always to cherish it, sometimes just to understand it. Stay calm, my friends. Don't chase validation. The fact that they came back proves everything your silence was meant to show. You were never forgettable, just unappreciated until you walked away. So if they reach out, smile, breathe, and remember, you don't owe them chaos. You owe yourself peace. Let them see what it looks like when calm replaces craving. That's the highest form of closure. And if you're listening right now, write this in the comments. My peace brought them back, because it did. It wasn't luck, it was alignment. Number 8, the reversal. When your silence speaks louder than words. There comes a moment, my friends, when silence is no longer a strategy. It becomes your nature. It's not about ignoring anyone or proving a point anymore. It's about realizing that peace has always been the loudest language there is. You've gone from explaining yourself to defending yourself, to finally not needing to say a thing. That's the reversal. The story flips. The one who once tried to silence you is now listening for an echo that never comes. The one who thought they broke you now realizes your stillness is what rebuilt you. You see, silence isn't punishment, it's transformation. In the early days, your quiet was raw. It came from pain, from confusion, from the desperate need to be understood without having to beg. But over time, it changed shape. It became softer, wiser, calmer. It stopped being about them and started being about you. That's what real growth looks like, when your peace stops depending on who stays or leaves. When you can sit in stillness and not feel empty, but full. When you stop reacting and start observing. That's when silence speaks louder than any words could. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." Your silence is that secret order. It's the quiet alignment between who you were and who you're becoming. You no longer need to chase closure or clarity. You've found it within. That calm, collected energy of yours, it travels further than any message, any text, any confession. People feel it. They sense it in your eyes, your posture, your tone. You radiate something they can't define anymore. That's when they realize your silence isn't empty space. It's evolved energy. And here's the irony, folks. The moment you stop caring whether they understand you is the moment they finally want to. Your silence, which once made them feel powerful, now makes them restless. It used to mean waiting. Now it means wisdom. It used to look like retreat. Now it looks like mastery. They'll replay everything, the words they said, the messages they ignored, the chances they wasted, because suddenly it's clear you didn't lose your voice, you just stopped wasting it. When they finally come back, and yes, they will, don't doubt that for a second, it won't feel like victory anymore. It'll feel like realization. You'll see them the same way you see an old photograph, with compassion, but without attachment. You'll understand why everything happened the way it did. Their return will no longer shake you. It'll confirm your growth. Because the truth is, your silence already said everything they needed to hear. It said, "I loved you, but I love myself more." It said, "I'm done repeating lessons I've already learned." It said, "I've changed." And when they realize that, when they stand there looking at you trying to reconnect, they'll see what they can't reach anymore. Your silence became a door that only opened for peace, and they don't hold the key. They'll feel it, that you've outgrown the need for validation, for being chosen, for being understood. And in that moment, your silence will roar. Not with anger, not with pain, but with grace. Because true power isn't about proving who you've become. It's about no longer needing to prove it at all. So, my friends, let this be your reminder. Silence isn't the end of the story. It's the evolution of it. You didn't go quiet to make them chase you. You went quiet to meet yourself again. You found strength in restraint, wisdom in stillness, and peace in letting go. That's real Stoicism. Calm in chaos, clarity in detachment, dignity in distance. And when they finally circle back, remember this truth. They'll come back, yes, but by then you'll have outgrown the need for it. Because peace feels better than attention, and evolution feels better than revenge. And that, my friends, brings us full circle. Your silence was never weakness. It was wisdom. It taught you that peace is louder than chasing, and healing is stronger than proving. You've evolved from needing to be heard to simply being understood by yourself. Remember, they may come back, but you've already moved forward. So keep walking in calm power, keep protecting your peace, and never shrink back into noise. If this message hit home, press that like button, subscribe for more Stoic truth, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Stay grounded, stay powerful, stay silent.